As I said, some of you know the drill here. What we do at Clearstone is on Mondays we go through things like world economic issues, national issues, stock issues among the partners. I have to say though, this week for some reason it was the week of sort of amusing headlines to me. One of them I'm gonna read out to you, which really should be like headline of the year.
Buddy. You gotta yell. They can't hear you back there.
Well, okay. I'll try to yell, but it's sort of hard.
There you go.
So here's my favorite headline of the week. Indonesian volcano erupts. Panicking evacuees fleeing the tsunami. The second one was, election doesn't end, major discord for GOP and Obama. Wow. You know, you would have thought, right? So what happened this week, which I'm sure almost none of you know, is there's something called the G20 Summit, right? Which is appallingly poorly covered in the U.S. It's covered better overseas, but
it was several pages of New York Times right up front. Right.
Yeah, and no one read it.
I read it.
Yeah, you did. Great, Alex. But virtually no one read it. And I watched a lot of news, right? And I thought it was so... The big news that I could see coming out of that was Kate Gosselin's children having to be removed from public school. Hopefully most of you don't know who Kate Gosselin is.
But the news is that it was an utter, complete, catastrophic failure of diplomacy.
Well,
so why would we cover that?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of reasons you would cover it. But for instance, some of you don't know, I'm assuming most of us don't really cover international economics, right? So the G20 Summit is the 20 largest economies in the world. And they represent 80% of the world trade. And the biggest issue facing the United States right now is world trade, because 70% of our economy is built from consumers spending money, and consumers have pretty much shut down. They're not spending. So the idea is we're going to export our way out of this problem. One way you do that, there's actually two ways you do that. One is you deal with currency fluctuations. If our currency is low, our goods are relatively less expensive, we can sell more stuff. The other way is dealing with just the surpluses, what are known as the deficits or the surpluses, with the current account balances.
But the first only works if the goods are price elastic.
Right. So it's a complicated problem. But this is why maybe it wasn't covered. So I read the communique from the summit, which came out last night. And this is the news. We will strengthen multilateral cooperation to promote external sustainability and pursue the full range of policies conducive to reducing excessive imbalances and maintaining current account imbalances. So, right, exactly. No one knows what that means. So, someone asked for a clarification, to which it was said, well, what this means is we've established guidelines composed of a range of indicators that will serve as a mechanism to facilitate the timely identification of large imbalances that for preventive and corrective actions to be taken. Now, I had a couple of thoughts on that. You're all like, what the fuck does that mean? So, first, how'd you like to be the Turkey translator? Because this was written in English, right? So imagine translating that in Turkey. So they asked Angela Merkel, who's the German chancellor, for a comment on this. And what she said was, I think this means we're going to deal with that next year. Right. Now, Obama said, and I love this, and I think he got exactly the right advice. He said, hey, we've had some big successes here, and the communique really lays it all out. Right, because he knows no one's going to read it. And then my favorite, and I've always wondered, why do the Chinese always get way more sound bites? If any of you read the Financial Times, you'll always see there's this really complicated thing and they get the sound bite. The reason is they always say something kind of snarky. So the
exact same word.
Right.
Snarky.
The Chinese Minister of Finance said, when asked what that thing meant, he said, when sick man goes to doctor, he should not tell doctor to take medicine. And I think he was talking about us, the United States. So it came down to, by the way, during this whole thing, I think some of the reasons why it wasn't covered was some of you know Silvio Berlusconi? Right. So he is the Italian prime minister, right?
And he owns almost all the networks out there too.
Yes, and he is my favorite prime minister in the world. So, and there's so many reasons, but the headlines about the G20 Summit in Italy were mostly around Berlusconi, right? And it was because of his, which I love, as the Financial Times described it, the new scandal, sex scandal for Berlusconi. So the last sex scandal, which I had to read about, was with an 18-year-old stripper. And scandal broke, he had to explain what went on, he went to his advisors. 2 days later he comes out with a pronouncement. And he had 4 points to make about the 18-year-old stripper. First, where's the photographic evidence? Second, she wasn't technically underage because I was at her 18th birthday party. Third, which is I think my favorite, yeah, maybe this is true, but how can you believe it? Because she doesn't even know my name. And the reason she doesn't know his name is because she referred to him as Poppy. And as the Financial Times lays out to help us all, by the way, Poppy means daddy in English. So that was the scandal last time. Now, during this particular time, he now was found with a 17-year-old Moroccan stripper. And this time, his comment at the G20 Summit was...
He was trying to promote European-Arab relations?
Something like that. Hey, isn't it better to like girls than to be a gay? By the way, this guy's 74. And all I could think about was Bill Clinton saying, why wasn't I the Italian prime minister? Right? So, of course, right. I mean, can you imagine like Dick Morris and Bill Clinton in Italy having to explain their stuff?